Hi, I'm Matt from HockeyReviews.ca, and this is the STX Halo Super Light Hockey Stick review. Before all that, if you are going to make any hockey purchases and you live in the United States that isn't STX, check out the link in the description too. Pure Hockey, clicking that link, make a purchase, gives me a kickback, helps support the channel so I can keep doing reviews like this. Otherwise, if you want to support me, check out the link in the description too, Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. Using either of those, everything from that will go right back into the channel so I can keep making more content. Reviewing this stuff is expensive without just doing snapshot reviews, and it would be greatly appreciated. Now, if you end up buying this stick or looking at it and this video was helpful, please reach out to STX on social media to let them know. It would be greatly appreciated. First off, full disclosure, STX sent me this stick to do a review on and to talk about it, so huge thank you to them. So while I'd prefer this video to be a full ice review, my area is locked down for another bunch of days and at least like a month, so there's no way I can get this back on the ice. So unfortunately I can't actually get a full review on it to see how it works for passing and everything like that. I'm just gonna say this right away to get it out of the way, since people will bring it up and people were mentioning it on Instagram, stuff like that. Yes, this is lime green. Yes, the colors are similar to the Bauer ADV line. Yes, I think that was a bad idea. I think they should have gone with any other color beside that, because I think linking any of your products, especially when you call it your Halo, compared to the Bauer ADV line, which basically tries to push the boundaries for tech, is a bad idea. Obviously, this doesn't cost as much as an ADV. To begin, I'm going to nitpick something really quickly, just because I was super excited about something on this stick and it ended up not having it. So while it does look textured and you can feel it with your bare hands, when you actually put gloves on, and I was using it on like my AX suede palm gloves, so like the thinnest, you don't really feel it at all. Barely noticeable, if noticeable at all. I never noticed it when actually shooting, just when I'm trying to think about it. So that was a bit disappointing, but that's a huge nitpick, and it's just a small thing that I really like. So if you're thinking that it does have that texture, it really doesn't. The next really unimportant thing on this stick though is the actual grip itself. It feels pretty good. I find a lot of companies now are cheaping out on grips and making it thinner and thinner, and it's not very consistent. This one feels consistent all the way through. This one feels, in my opinion, tied for the best of the retail, and the best of the retail is like the Bauer series, which is very consistent and still feels thick all the way through. CCM is kind of cheapened out, in my opinion, on grips recently, where it's really inconsistent throughout the stick and you kind of get like weird, like random spots of tackiness. Bauer, I think, does a really, really good job of that. Unfortunately for them, Pro Stock Hockey Sticks still exists, because Pro Stock Hockey Sticks has the best grip there is on the market, because they don't cheapen out on it. It feels amazing. It's super consistent, and they have all your textured options. But this one was really good and comparable to the Bauer's, which is impressive. This stick came in at 380 grams, and it's on my scale I'll show you right there, which is pretty impressive. It's not game breaking or anything like that, but it's impressive. I think it's STX's first stick that's sub 400 grams, and 380 puts it right around Bauer. I have all these sticks here because I feel like they're pretty decent comparisons for what this is supposed to be. Like the FT3 Pro is lighter when you cut it down. Pro Stock Hockey Sticks is basically the same. They're all around there. So it's not game breaking. CCM is still really pushing the barriers for that. It is still cheaper than the top end sticks of every other company there, basically. I find that weight is still one of those things that people are too like worried about. I always talking about them in videos because people care about them for sticks, and I think for sticks it matters more than anything else. But with that said, the balance on this is what really matters, and this is really good. It felt great in my hands. I always knew where the blade was. Feels like it should, and STX did a really good job of balancing this whole stick out. Had a bunch of times in the past where sticks are too blade light or too top heavy and just it doesn't feel that right. This one felt excellent. So huge props to them there. And I would be happier with a stick like this versus a stick that was 370, 360 grams and felt like it had no blade at all. This is a good like balance for it, and it's a good overall feeling, and good job they did there. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, because I noticed it interestingly enough, was blade shaft shape. So it is like a squared shaft shape. Obviously it has a bit rounded corners, but it does feel pretty square in your hands, and I definitely noticed it when shooting. I felt this back when I used a Supreme 2S Pro a while ago, just because it's not super comfortable to me, but it's so squared off that after shooting for a while with specifically this blade, which I'll talk to in a second, I did feel it in my hands, and it wasn't the most comfortable thing. Obviously, this is a total personal preference thing. Their idea is that shaft shape maximizes contact point with your hand, so it doesn't twist as much under load, which is fine, whatever. Personally, I really wish this had the surgeon sides, because I think that's a genius idea, and I like how the Nexus feels, and the Surgeon felt really good too. But I understand this is not the low kick stick like the Surgeon, and why they didn't do that. The shaft shape was pretty square, and I definitely noticed it, especially because of the vibrations on the stick, which leads me to the pinginess of the blade. So I'm gonna have a video coming out in the near future about pinginess of blade and explaining what it is. Basically, it's how much dampening is in the blade and what you can feel for transferring from the puck to your hands. This one is very pingy. This one is like really close to AS3 Pro pinginess. And that's high, that's really high. That's more pingy than the Jet Speed. It felt stiff all the way out throughout for shooting, but pinginess was definitely there. So puck feel, you feel it all right away. Very little dampening. I wish I could get this on the ice, but I can't. Like I said, we're no ice around, so I want to see how this would be for passing, everything like that, and for actual stick handling on the ice. Like I said, after shooting a bunch of shots, I definitely felt the vibrations coming up the hand. Just you'd feel it in your hands after a while because of that. Total personal preference thing. I have no issues using this. I have a feeling I'd really like to use this on the ice because just everything felt really good, but I want to call it out there because that's how it plays. Also, the blade has this finish that now all the top companies have, basically Bauer, CCM, even the Sherwood here, have this finish where you don't really have to tape it all up because it is grippy all the way through. It's just a thing people are using. A lot of pros just here are using less and less tape. That's kind of what this allows you to do, and it is just an interesting blade finish. No interesting taper, really shaft shape here. It's pretty standard, but that's fine because it works pretty well. So speaking of other details, the weave is, they said, at 18K carbon, and you can see it compared to these other sticks. So it's not as big as Bauer's, because Bauer's is basically bigger than everyone else's. And then second one here is Sherwood. It's called their Black Line 25. So I don't know if that means it's a 25K or what, but Sherwood's is still the second biggest. And then it's bigger than CCM. I'm not going to say what this really does. I'm just pointing it out there as one of the tech specs on it. So the important part of this stick is obviously shots performance. And this stick, I was really pleasantly surprised by it. I haven't used an STX stick since I think the RX2, and I only got to use it for like a skate for like maybe 20 minutes. So I never really got good use of it and good feel of it. So I was curious to see if STX is still held up in terms of like top sticks and performance, and I'll happily say that this one does compete with the top sticks. You can easily see me using this in my main rotation. I was a fan of shooting it. Shots felt very hard on it. Basically, when shooting this, the last stick I remember that shot that hard, and I can basically tell by how hard they come off the post, was the AS3 Pro, which is a huge compliment because that's the best shooting, like hardest shooting stick I've ever used. This one felt pretty close to that, and that's saying a lot. So I think this shoots very well. With that said, quick release isn't quite there compared to the CCMs. Shot power and quick release are different things. For me, CCM has kind of put it to a new level of how quick their sticks release and how easy they are to shoot. This one does take a little bit more effort than that, and it's kind of on, I want to put CCM on a top tier compared to everyone else, and then everyone kind of one step lower. This is on the tier of Bauer, so it still shoots really well, feels great in hands, like I'm really happy shooting it, but it's just not quite up there like the CCMs are. But that's more saying of how good CCM is than that this stick is bad. It's still really good. It still feels like an elite stick. It is an elite stick, so I want to just call that out there though. Now, accuracy, do not judge my horrible accuracy in these shots. I have not picked up a stick in about a month now, because we can't play where I am and I've just been doing other things. This stick shooting, when I really thought about it and really tried to hit the same spot, it was pretty close. It wasn't the best, but for me, I kind of need a more dampened blade to get that, in my opinion, and that's why I kind of like the Bauer stick, because I feel like they're a little bit easier to control for that, and also a slightly lower kick is a bit easier for me to control for that. Accuracy and everything, I can't see there being a huge issue. It wasn't like way off or anything like that. Unlike like when I shot the Sherwood, I had issues all the time. This one, it wasn't really. It was going pretty close where I was, and when I was trying to hit specific targets, like specifically the top ones, it was close, and I was pretty satisfied with it. Now, overall, I like this stick. I do think it's an elite level stick, and it comes in at $230 US. Problem when you translate that, it's about $290 Canadian. They don't sell it in Canada, so it's kind of disappointing. I get why they're only in the US right now for this. If this stick came out 8 months ago, it would be kind of really pushing the needle of things, and even just be like, okay, this is like really, really good. It's still a really good stick, but because CCM has kind of raised the bar, and because Bauer's come out with all their sub 300 or 400 gram sticks, this one is, it's almost lost in the shuffle, and that's kind of just, that's disappointing. This is a really solid stick. I would definitely recommend people try it. I'm a fan of it, and I think it's really good. The problem is the pricing. So it comes in at $229 US, which is cheaper than Bauer, cheaper than CCM, cheaper than the Sherwood. My problem with this though is that this stick exists. which is the Pro Stock hockey stick, which I should actually talk about my review in the top right over here. If this stick did not exist, I could easily say that this STX Halo is the best shooting stick for performance, and for price, performance, everything would be the best, easy by far. But that other stick exists, and that's $159. Now I understand that Pro Stock hockey sticks isn't a giant company running their stick, and STX is a company it has a bunch of employees. I understand that. This is still a great product, but it's really hard to say like, yes, this is the best thing for money when I know that this exists and it's still really good. I have no problems recommending the STX Halo to anyone. If you want like a mid-kick stick, like a Nexus, like a Jet Speed, or even an AS3, and you don't want to spend the money because the blade's really closer to an AS3, the Halo is a good option. Solid specs, it feels good in the hands. STX has always been a good pleasure to work with for me, and I'm not talking about them sending me stuff. I mean, I've purchased stuff from them as not a YouTube person or anything, and they've always been great. But the value proposition for this just kind of gets lost in the shuffle now, unfortunately, when I know when this company exists and when these sticks exist. Now, like I said, I have no problems recommending this. I will definitely be using this stick once I actually can get back on the ice. So if you want to go this route, it's totally fine. You're getting a really solid product and a better value product than Bauer, CCM, definitely Sherwood, but you're just there's other options out there, and that's what makes me a bit hesitant and, well, not unable to say this is the best value and best performing stick per price on the market, because other things exist. So that's about it for this review of the STX Halo Superlight hockey stick. Huge thank you to STX for sending me this stick. Like I said, I'm a fan of it. Definitely check it out. Also, remember to subscribe to me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Links in the description. Instagram got to pick out the grip color I use on this. There's a bunch of different color options. They picked black, so we went with black. So follow me on Instagram, and you can pick the next future grip colors for all my sticks. So I want to say, if you do make a purchase of this stick, or this video helps at all of you looking at any of their products, please let STX know through Instagram or anything like that. It's greatly helpful for me, and it'd be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, if you're not buying any STX stuff, check out the links in the description to Pure Hockey if you're in the United States. Clicking that link, making a purchase gives me a kickback to help support the channel, so I keep doing videos and making content. Otherwise, if you want to support the channel, check out the link in the description to Patreon and buy me a coffee. Everything that goes through there comes right back into the channel. So I'll keep doing more reviews and making more actual review content stuff, and not just quick snapshot stuff like that. Thank you very much for watching. Again, huge thanks to STX. Take it easy.
You're watching HockeyReviews.ca.